few days ago, I received this article that was written on NPR, and it brought me to the attention of this Pan-African village in a city called Asebu. I might be mispronouncing it, but before this article, I'd never heard about it. But allegedly, I did hear about it. I'm gonna tell you how I heard about it in a way. Because somebody told me that there was a village giving away some land in Ghana. I just didn't know where. Come to find out, it was Asebu. Now, Asebu village, really what is the rundown of it? It is a particular land base that is about 5,000 acres. And one of the land chiefs went to a brother respected in the community, and he asked the brother, would he be interested in being a part of this project that would give 5,000 acres of land to the diaspora? And once they got it set up, all they would need to do is spend $1,000 to pretty much reserve the plot. And I saw one of the founders of this project. He was interviewed on the Alita Israel channel, and here's what he said his involvement was at first.
This is history in the making, so it's very important that we have an accurate account. And you know, his history, one of our great teachers, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan, said, truth is like a shattered mirror, which you can pick up pieces of it and everybody sees a reflection of themselves. Mm-hmm. And that means that there are a number of people that need to be spoken to get all the pieces together to talk about the truth of how this project came about. Okay. My truth in it and my experience in it is that I had a delegation come to me of the Asebu traditional area, which was led to me by one Oba Kessi Ampa, who had just become installed as a subdivisional chief in Asebu, and he led his paramount chief to me, Amenfi, Okatachi Amenfi, who is the paramount chief of the Asebu traditional area, along with his elders. And this was during the year of return. And they had heard that I was involved with the year of return. I was on the National Planning Committee. I had previous history with Obakesi as a young man throughout the years before he became installed as a Nana there. He knew my activity in the Pan-African community. He knew my familiarity as someone from the diaspora living in Ghana. And he and the Traditional Council and the Oman Hen, they came up with an idea of engaging the diaspora and doing something significant for the year of return. And so when they came to me as a delegation to present this idea to me, my role was to play a part in trying to bring it to the attention of the diaspora and engage the diaspora about 5,000 acres of land that he was willing to commit to any members of the diaspora who were interested in coming here for the year of return for more than just a cosmetic visit, who were interested in coming here, acquiring land, and building a home and settling amongst their family and brothers here in Ghana.
So that's the backstory of how it got started. But this is what's going on now, from what I understand. Largely, it seems like everything is okay. I see African Americans on YouTube visiting the Pan-African village. A lot of people are talking about it, and people have built some nice, wonderful homes, which I think is great. But there's a problem now in the community. There have been some people who have been left out, and I mean severely left out. So, and those are some local Ghanaians. But I kind of want to get to the stories of some people who actually have benefited from this. Now, in this particular story, here's a Jamaican man that lived in Canada that has built a 6-bedroom house there. Now, this is going to be audio only, but I want you to hear about his own experience.
Dozens of houses are dotted across Pan-African Village, a rural settlement enveloped by miles of lush farmland and palm trees near the Atlantic coast.
Nobody has ever lived there before. It was idle land.
Lenville Skyers says he was the first to settle here 3 years ago and says he'll never leave. We meet in the lounge of his 6-bedroom home and guest house.
I was born on the island of Jamaica, a couple months before 1950, right? So I'm an old man now, or oldish.
He lived and worked in Canada for over 40 years, but never felt he really belonged.
We as blacks and native people are regarded as second-class citizens. We've reached a stage now where there is an option to find land, countries where you can be totally free.
Now, let's go back to what has happened to some of the people there. There have been people who have lost 150 acres who are Ghanaian, and they lived here. Some of these people have farmed here, and some of these people said that they have tried to even challenge some of the diasporas. Not all of these are African Americans. Some are Jamaican, some are Black British. Some of these people now have guns now, and they are armed. And when they try to confront them about the land, the diaspora has threatened them with guns. Here's an audio of one of the men who had his land taken. Here's what he had to say.
And some, like 59-year-old Kwesi Otubensil, have even had their land taken away.
So we have been farming there for so many years, and for generations and for generations.
We meet outside his modest home with other farmers and members of his extended family.
I used to farm lime, coconuts, oranges. That it has been destroyed.
They are among hundreds who used to farm on the land that belonged to their family for at least 4 generations.
Now I want to go back to the elder on Alita Israel's channel, who also has talked about the land disputes that families are coming in saying, hey, listen, we want to take the king to court or the chief to court who has given away the land. He's going to confirm everything that I've been talking about.
So speaking of the scamming talk, and the different people who's trying to just kind of bring down the project and trying to discourage our people from Ghana entirely. I've definitely heard some talk about the Pan-African Village being in the courts. I heard some talk about land not being registered, and a lot of people just hands involved. So I wanted to know if you could shed any light on what's happening in the courts. Is it finished? You know, do our people, are they okay, the ones who already bought land here? Like, are they at stake at losing or at risk of losing their land?
Well, let me put it in perspective. When the Nana Okatachi Amenfi, the 7th, I believe it is, when he first had the idea, he presented this idea to his elders. As I told you, he didn't come to me alone as Nicodemus in the night.
Yeah.
He came to me with traditional leaders from his traditional council.
Right.
They brought this project to me as something endorsed. When we went to promote it at his palace, we found out that he had invited his traditional council. He invited the regional minister of the region. He invited several dignitaries there. And we did this all in the open. I'm saying that to say that all the signals of transparency was there. So it was after all of these things had done, and after people were successfully purchasing plots, paying their service fee, and beginning to develop there, that there emerged a family. You know, in Ghana, we have stool lands, government lands, but stool lands are usually governed by a stool. It's made up of families. And in that land tenure is different from Western land tenureship, where you just outright buy land and own it.
Okay.
So we have to understand that, coming from America or from any European countries, about land tenureship. So this family emerged and said that 150 acres of the land that was in the 5,000 belonged to their family.
Okay.
And they were not receiving any remuneration for that. So it was an internal affair that had to be sought out between the king and the head of this family. So we got to know of this. We sat down on that. We realized it was going to be handled internally, which is what is encouraged in Ghana before you go to the court system. People like to sit down as a family, work it out together. And they even brought in another powerful chief, well-respected, used to be the former vice president of the National House of Chiefs, came in to try to mediate between the family members and the king. And they had problems settling on, technically speaking, whose right it was to actually sell the land and have access to whatever resources that the land was being, like I say, not purchased like sale like that, but access to some of the money that was being used for service fees. And so eventually the family that had this conflict, they brought the matter to court. And it was in court. And it's when it went to court that they had this press conference and made a press statement and allegations, as I said, without investigation. They mentioned the king's name, his civilian name, without the respect of even mention that he was the king of the land. the overall landlord.
Right.
They
like
mentioned
he a regular person.
absolutely.
Right?
They mentioned Obakesi's name, Nana Obakesi, and they made him almost regular person. And then they mentioned my name, and then they had to say alias, Rabbi Kohen, the leader of Panafest. They brought Panafest into it, which has nothing to do with it. But they did it in a very negative, connotating manner, as if we were involved with something in a scheme, that was illegal or negative or cheating people. We even had the nerve to make it a scam. But that was the twist that some African diaspora doctor of propaganda had helped to lend to it.
Some people are believing, and again, I have not been there. Of course, from what I can see on the videos, it seems like everybody's living a pretty prosperous life there. But it does seem like there's some contention between people from the Ghanaian community and those in the diaspora community. What are my thoughts on this? Well, before I give your thoughts, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Every time we drop a video here on Kenganda, you'll get a subscription. I think this. Firstly, there's going to be all sorts of problems with things like this. I think it's been a great effort from the chief. And we always talk about, Africa making the effort to do so. I know there's a sister, I believe her name is Kia. I think it's Traverse City Travels on Instagram. She was given 146 acres of land to develop for the diaspora. And I believe here is the African countries trying to make a step forward to say, hey, people, we want you to come back home and do something with this land that's not really being used to develop. What happens is it pushes people from that respective country out. Unfortunately, that is what happens. So these people that probably don't have the money to build or develop are being pushed out for the diaspora who can come in and develop. And are we going to see another Liberia soon? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. I know that if these people are getting like acres of land taken from them and they're not being compensated for it, it will lead to bad blood. I'm not sure if I would want to participate in something like this because of all of the bad animosity and backlash that it could create. But what I would say is this: if you're going to get land in Africa, whether you pay for it or it is given to you, it's probably better to pay for it. If somebody's land is being taken without compensation and given to you, there's going to be a big issue, right? Just think if somebody came and took your land, that you owned or your family owned, and they just gave it away to somebody else. How would you feel? You probably would be pissed off. So that's what's happening. Some people are going to be pissed off. And unfortunately, not everybody can win in this situation. Some people will lose and must lose because of, the diaspora wanting to come back to Africa. I've heard that many places in Accra, the rent has either doubled or tripled since the year of return. And couple that with Ghana's bad economy, a lot of people are upset at the diaspora for making people's lives worse. Here's what I also want to say, right? It's gonna work both ways. When people come from foreign countries into the United States, I hate to say this, but Americans get upset because we now have to compete with these talented people. And this is what is going to happen in Africa. And Africans need to probably be aware of this, even though this is going to be uncomfortable to talk about. When these African Americans or Caribbeans come into Africa, they're probably not going to be playing. They're going to be very serious. They're going to be very serious because they have to be serious. They're probably going to work hard. They're going to have some advantages, connections, American money, American credit cards, and they're probably going to put their best foot forward. And those people in these particular environments who have not had to have this sort of tension or competition, they're going to get it. I'm seeing people here in Uganda all the time, every week. I'm seeing African Americans come into Kenya. I'm seeing the Black Caribbeans coming into Kenya, and you're going to see a lot more talented people from the diaspora coming into Africa. And those people who have been having, some of these things just because it's yours, if governments feel like, you're not doing something with it, then there is going to be problems. And those African governments are going to look at, well, if our people are not doing anything with this, why are they going to have it? We might as well give it to somebody who is going to occupy it and develop it. And unfortunately, that's not fair. Just like my first example, I can see it, but that is is the reality. The more Africa starts ringing up and the more that these countries start competing for the diaspora, these things are going to happen. We've already known about what's going on with Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is competing with Ghana for people to come into the country. And they're saying, listen, we'll give you citizenship if you can prove you have 1 ounce of Sierra Leonean blood. That's what we're willing to do to compete. And guess what? Don't be surprised if people start looking at land or villages or areas that have not been developed at all, and they've been sitting there idle for years, and people are not doing things like farming on them, whatever. If they give a whole piece of land to a whole different group, the diaspora, that qualify for it, you're gonna see it. You're not only gonna see it in West Africa. I told you about what's happening in Kenya, and people need to be ready for the competition that's coming toward this great continent. Africa Free Trade is coming, and as much as talented Africans are gonna push the envelope in America and put pressure on Americans, these people from the diaspora are gonna be putting pressure on people here. And it's going to be either you're gonna compete or you're gonna get ran over. And I hate to say it like that, because that's the energy people from the diaspora are coming with. They are not coming here to play games with people in Africa. I mean, it's good to say we love our brothers and sisters and we want them to develop, but if you're not gonna develop, these guys are gonna come over here and they're gonna take your opportunities. We're gonna hear it's colonialism all over again. It's called competition. It's called development. If you're not doing the business right, if you're lying in the business, if you're scamming, and you see brothers coming from London or from St. Louis or from the African-American community, and they come in here and they're in the business with you, they're gonna smoke you. It's not gonna be close. And they're gonna take your opportunities away from you in the business if you're not gonna do the right thing. And if you don't like it, there's only one way you can stop it, is to compete and be competitive. There are many Africans and African Americans that are collaborating in business and building great businesses, building great industries, and that's what we need. But those of you who can't do that will be left behind on either side, whether it's African Americans or Africans. And that's the only way I can put it. And it's not even going to be us. There will be people here. The Chinese are here. The Indians are here. Lebanese are here. And I'm telling you, everybody who's coming in ain't here to be your friend. So Africans need to really understand that and take that into consideration when you have the opportunities to improve, that you're going to need to do it, because these African Americans and these chiefs are going to be sitting here looking at, hey, we have this land, our area is not developing, we want to get more taxes, we want to get more name, we don't want just Accra being the city, we want these other places, we want more tourism dollars coming in here. And if they feel like you can't do it, they're going to take it away. It's that simple. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Dude Jackson, back at it again with another episode here on Kenganda. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. We're out.